for students to use with their writing. Harriet Tubman. Before reading the passage, you want to take a look at the writing instructions. The prompt today says, look back at the article Harriet Tubman. Write a story in which Harriet is the main character. Use evidence from the text to support characterization in your story. Harriet Tubman. In the 1820s, Harriet Tubman was born a slave in America. She had 10 brothers and sisters that all lived with her in a one-room hut with a dirt floor. They were all slaves. When she was 8, she had to work all day for her master. He would often beat and hurt Harriet. Once he even hit her in the head with a heavy iron, causing her to suffer from headaches and fainting spells her whole life. When Harriet grew up, she married John Tubman in 1844. She told John that she wanted to run away. He told her it was not a good idea, and he would tell her master. She needed someone that was willing to help her, so she asked her family. 3 of her brothers agreed to run away with her, but when they tried, they became afraid and went back. 2 nights later, she escaped on her own. There was a white woman that said she would help her, so she went to her house. She taught Harriet about the Underground Railroad. These were homes that would hide slaves trying to escape. They were scattered out throughout states leading to places where slaves could be free. Harriet Tubman was free, but she did something very brave. In her lifetime, she made 19 trips back to the slave states where she was not free to help others escape. She helped 300 people get to freedom. Each trip was dangerous because men were hunting them, but Harriet outsmarted them all. After reading the passage, you always want to return to the writing instructions. The prompt says, look back at the article Harriet Tubman. Write a story in which Harriet is the main character. Use evidence from the text to support characterization in your story. What type of writing is this? Explanatory, persuasive, or narrative? You see, write a story. This lets you know you are doing narrative writing. The prompt wants you to write a story about Harriet Tubman. You might be able to write about one of her escapes or maybe someone chasing her. You're going to come up with a story, but you need to use the text. You know a little bit about her now. Use what you have learned about her to write this story. Let's take a look at some brainstorming ideas. Maybe you're going to write a story about her actual escape and what happened along the way. Maybe you're going to write a story about how Harriet helped a family with children escape. Maybe how Harriet helps a boy and almost gets caught. Maybe you're going to write about Harriet's first day of freedom and what she did when she was finally free. Begin by writing your plan. When writing your narrative plan, you write 1, skip a line, 2, 3, 4. Next to 1, whether and where. Underneath, doing. 2, prompt. 3, climax. 4, end story. A shortcut version, 1, skip a line, 2, 3, 4, and then just write the first letter of each word. Write your plan now. It's time to fill in your plan. Next to number 1 is whether, and then where. Where do you want your story to take place? Is she going to be back at her master's house before the escape? Are you going to write about her maybe getting beaten by her master? Maybe she's working in the fields. I've written that she's in the woods. Fill in your where now. Look at where she is, and now you're going to tell what she's doing there at the beginning of the story. I've written that she's leaving. Fill in what she's doing at the beginning of the story where you have just said that she is. Is she ironing for her slave master? Is she packing for her escape? Fill in what she was doing at the beginning of the story now. Number 2 is the prompt. This prompt is asking you to make up a story about Harriet. I have chosen to write about the time she escaped with her brothers. Looking at the brainstorming, maybe you're going to write about her helping a family with children escape. Maybe about her helping a boy, and then the climax is where she almost gets caught. Maybe about her first day of freedom. Decide what you want your story to be about. and fill in your 2 now. 3 is the climax. This is where they turned back because it got too dangerous. The brothers were afraid, so they turned back. What do you want your climax to be? Is she going to get to do something for the first time if she's free? Is your climax going to be where she actually is free or she helped free a certain person? Come up with your exciting part of your story and fill in your climax now. Number 4, end story. This is where she left by herself, is what I've chosen to write about. How do you want to end your story? Is she going to go out and celebrate? Is she turning around to go get someone else? Has she been caught and now she's locked up? Make up an ending and fill in your ending now. Your plan is complete. It's time to start your writing. Next to number 1 is whether and where. My where is in the woods. I've written, it had been an exhausting day working out in the fields. In your writing resource packet, you have a sheet called First Paragraph Narrative, and it gives you some different ideas for weather sentences. It was a warm day as the rising sun heated the earth. You may want to use these for ideas for starting off your story. Please indent and write your weather and tell where she was in this story now. Now I need to write about what she was doing. In my story, she's leaving. Here's what I've written. Harriet Tubman was a slave in the southern portion of America. Her master was mean and made her work hard hours. This day was a little different than most. Harriet, along with 3 of her brothers, had a plan to escape. They needed to travel north to an area where slaves were free. While Harriet was tired from a full day of working, she knew that her work was not over. So here you want to give some background information. Look at that article you read. Look at what Harriet's life was like. You want to give the reader a little bit of background. I let them know that she was a slave. I said that her master was mean, that she had to work hard hours, and that she was going to escape. You want to give the reader some of that background information. Do not assume the person knows who Harriet Tubman is. You need to introduce your character. In your first paragraph, please write several sentences telling about Harriet, introduce her character, and what she was doing at the beginning of the story now. Number 2, the prompt. My story is going to be about her escaping with her brothers. I went to a new line, indented, and here's what I've written. At midnight, she and her brothers met in the woods. Harriet had to wait until her husband was asleep because he did not approve of her trying to escape. They had to be quiet as they slipped through the woods. If they were spotted by a white man, they were certain to be beaten and locked up. They came to a place in the road where men were gathered. Every time they tried to find a clear spot to get by, it was blocked. They were not certain what was happening, but they knew if they kept going, they would be caught for sure. On your paper, go to a new line, indent, look back at number 2 on your plan. This is where you decided what your story was going to be about, and you want to start off this adventure. Go ahead and write your second paragraph now. Number 3, this is the climax. This is in my story where they're going to have to turn back. I went to a new line, indented, and here's what I've written. Harriet did not want to turn back, but her brothers left her with no choice. They began going back the way they had come. Harriet followed because there was no way through all of the men. From what they could hear, the men were looking for a runaway slave, so they were working hard to search the woods. They made their way home without being seen. Harriet's brothers told her they would not be attempting to escape again. Look at your plan, go to a new line, indent, and write your climax now. Number 4, end story. You want me to have a feeling of completion. I've written that she left alone. I've gone to a new line, indented. The next night, when all was quiet, brave Harriet Tubman left on her own. She was determined to succeed in escaping to freedom. She stepped into the quiet woods and headed for freedom. Give your story an ending. Go to a new line, indent, continue to use that descriptive language. You're trying to put a picture in the reader's mind when you're writing narrative. Do great work.